It's getting hot out here. So let's go to Minnesota and cool off a bit. The boys sweated out a win, and now we have to face the reigning division champs. We relive the highs and lows from opening day before talking about the Vikings next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys actually kissed the magical 13.5-yard line, and the other guy will challenge you to a game of pinball anytime. And now, it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
Fancy meeting you here. This is your Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. Give us a call, won't you? Area code 920-3PACK-GO. Again, 920-3PACK-GO. Or visit PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback. Be part of the show. Let your voice be heard. Can you believe it? This is episode 111 of your Packers Fan Podcast, recorded September 13th, 2016. And all the info we talk about will be found in the show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com/111.
On this episode, we're going to share the highlights and lowlights from the victory over the Jaguars. 1-0, baby. Whoop, whoop. Also, we're going to talk about how color blindness affects the NFL and how the Packers are putting the P in police.
Plus, we're going to break down the injury report, share the keys to the Vikings game, and Troy and I will again try to predict the outcome of this week's game. Long days and pleasant nights, Packers fans. I'm at Wayne Henderson, your voice acting, podcasting, part owner of your Green Bay Packers.
And I am at Troy Heinritz, not colorblind, but still glad that they decided to use white for the Color Rush jerseys.
It could have been so much worse.
It certainly could. It certainly could. Oh, my goodness. Why do we even go through this stuff? Never mind. We'll save that for later.
Money grab. The Packers Fan Podcast is proud to be part of the SPNT.TV Sports Podcast Network. And be sure to take us on the go with you, won't you? Get our free Packers Fan Podcast app for iOS or Android or both. It's presented by theticketking.com. Remember, you're not sold out until the king is sold out. Get Packers tickets at the best prices by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for all the details.
Yes. Also become a Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter. It helps us grow the show and bring you more great content each and every week. Check out the different reward levels by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/support. There's even a chance to go to a game next year with me, Sir Troy, during the 2017 season. Again, PackersFanPodcast.com/support. Just give us $1, man, or buy us a beer. It's cheaper if you buy us a beer here than over at the stadium.
Oh, no doubt. Though they do keep it as cold as possible at the stadium. And talking about stadiums, Jacksonville, hot, sweaty, humid, but that didn't stop AR-12 from running in a touchdown. That was so awesome.
Yes, I was very happy for this game because I had Aaron Rodgers as my keeper because he had that surgery. His mobility is back, 2 tutties, and 1 to run in for 3. What an awesome game.
That was. And we knew it wasn't going to be a cakewalk because of the heat, the humidity, and the Jaguars are no longer the laughingstock of the AFC.
Oh my gosh, Blake Bortles, man, did he look like he could play?
What if this is a Super Bowl preview that we just witnessed?
Mark it down here, folks. You heard it at approximately, 8 minutes into the show, 3 minutes into the show, 4 minutes. I don't know what time it is. Just mark it down because that is a statement.
There you go. Packers, Jaguars in Houston in February. You never know. It's early.
At least it'll be air conditioned then.
Thank goodness.
Oh my gosh. Lacey sure wasn't being affected by the heat though in this game. How about that monster run that set up a perfect drive, keeping it going? That was fantastic to see him break that hole.
Yes, it was. And even though my wife and some people on Twitter are like, Lacey looks like he's fat again, I don't even care. He's effective and he's a load to try to tackle. So go with it, Eddie. We love you.
Yeah, overweight or not overweight, I don't care. As long as you're running well, overweight, that's fine.
Yeah.
When you're not running well, overweight, then we have an issue. But right now, we are doing exactly what we need to do. Except for one thing. I don't know if you noticed this, but for some reason, they like to run Starks up the middle and Eddie to the outside. Why don't we have Starks go to the outside and have Eddie run up the middle? That would just be swell. Can we make that happen, please?
I think that's a fine idea because if anybody's more built to go up the middle, I would think it would be Eddie Lacy. And Starks going around the outside, he's shifty. Maybe somebody just has something flipped backwards on the coaching things they hold on the sidelines. That's a great idea.
I'm sure they have like a play setup, concept or whatever, right? They want a certain set of plays, run a certain set of ways. And that kind of rhymed. I'm a poet and don't even know it.
Oh, no. And you're doing your American Idol singing on the intro to the podcast.
That's true. This is very
true.
That was
sweet.
Very interesting evening this evening here on the podcast. But like I said, I think they're just running the playbook, right? And they need to be more creative with it. I think that's one thing that came out of this game, not to jump to lows, but the one thing that came out of this game again was that we got up on a lead, and I think McCarthy got a little bit conservative again. I mean, he ran the ball 3 times inside the 10 for that not touchdown. You just sit there and you scratch your head. It's like, just fake hand it off, have Rodgers roll it to the right, and have him take it in again. Put your head down, get the 6.
Yeah.
What's going on?
There is no rule that says Aaron Rodgers cannot run in for 2 or 3 touchdowns in a game.
I am fine with that. It actually gets me more points because the throwing touchdowns are only 4. The running touchdowns are 6.
Oh, my goodness. Fantasy football right here on the Packers Fan Podcast.
That would have been 6 extra points if he ran in 3 touchdowns instead of throwing for 2 of them. Just saying.
Let's give him a call.
Jordy, you saw that number 87 flash on the field?
Jordy Nelson?
I guess that's his name.
Wow.
He's back.
And
he got a tutty.
That was great. I do admit, just because I know how severe the injury was last year and how intense the recovery was, that I was a little bit nervous. Like, please don't anybody hit him. Be nice, be nice. But, if he's 100% or close to it, I'm sure that he's just fine. But I don't know. Is that weird that I got a little bit nervous when people were trying to tackle him?
I was the same way. I don't blame you. Now, he wasn't the yard machine that he usually is because that went to Randall Cobb, getting 57 yards on 8 targets and 6 receptions. But Nelson had 9 targets, so clearly, once again, Aaron Rodgers' favorite guy to throw to. 6 receptions, 32 yards, but he did get the touchdown, and that's all that matters because Nelson's on my fantasy team too. Double on the bump.
Nice, Troy. It was just great to see him out there because knowing, we've got the comfort level there for Aaron Rodgers, and we can really spread the ball, and Aaron did not disappoint. Everybody got their chance.
So then we have Devontae Adams, and this guy...
Heart attack machine.
Man, I tell you. Now, I don't know if that huge pass was really his fault or was it if it was overthrown just a little bit. It was a very, very tough grab. But then when he comes back and he snags a classic Brett Favre throw from AR-12, because I don't know how Aaron got that ball off at the end of the half. But the fact that he put it where he did and Devontae was able to snatch it up for 6, that's almost erased everything about Devontae from last year for me. Because if Devontae was going to drop a ball, that would have been the one he would have normally dropped. And he ended up catching it.
I have no idea how Devontae caught that ball. And like you said, how Aaron made the ball. We're used to Aaron Rodgers making, fantastic, unbelievable plays and throws. But the fact that they both came together on that same play, and I was watching, I think it was the NFL Network, and they had the top 10 plays of this past weekend, of course. Guess what play was number 1?
That was not the number 1 play, was it?
It was the only Packers play in there, and it was number 1 play of the weekend.
Wow.
According to NFL Network.
It was pretty spectacular, but there were some other plays over the weekend that I probably would have put a little bit higher, but kudos. Kudos to AR-12 and Devontae. Nice job, guys.
There you go.
Great work by Randall Cobb as well. Great to see Randall running out of the backfield again. I think that is an interesting combination when we see Randall show up there in the backfield. That produces points and yards.
Yeah, so he obviously is back in his comfort zone, knowing that he doesn't have the pressure of being the number 1 guy. He can, once Jordy takes the slack off of Randall, he's free to do his thing. And defense, there was some problems with defense, but, everybody's rusty except for the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't look very rusty this weekend. But Clinton Dix, Clay Matthews, Nick Perry, I think they all made some excellent plays this weekend.
Yeah, you can say there was a couple low points from maybe the secondary. Quentin Rollins especially got burned a couple of times. But for the most part, the safety blitz, man, Morgan Burnett came in for a sack. You had Nick Perry making trouble for people. The run game barely went anywhere, even though they tried really, really hard to make that happen. I mean, that front 7 was just fantastic through the whole game. And you have to say, the running game wouldn't be where it was to set up the pass plays that we got if it wasn't for that offensive line unit. Aaron Rodgers held the ball. Now, Aaron Rodgers normally holds the ball a really long time. He's probably the person that holds the ball the longest in the NFL amongst the quarterbacks. But Aaron Rodgers held the ball a long time in this game. He had literally till next week to throw the football.
But when he wants to, he can have a lightning fast release as well. But he
absolutely can.
He had plenty of time, and the offensive line, unsung heroes. And yeah, keep up that and keep protecting Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to be a nice season.
Yeah, there was one sack?
I forget the exact numbers.
I don't even think it was a sack. It was, you got him one sack, and you got him right at the line of scrimmage. So it was barely a sack.
Oh, okay. Details.
So I think that is an all-around good showing for the offensive line for week 1, especially with one Lane Taylor being in there at the guard, and of course JC at the center. I think that is going to be some fantastic stuff as we go forward, because if that unit stays healthy, we're going places, people.
Oh yes, we are. I can't wait. It's in this game. I had to go see it on DirecTV on the NFL ticket at my son's place because it wasn't airing here.
Boo-hoo.
Wait. I know.
I had to watch the game replay condensed version.
Oh, okay.
On Sunday night after the Sunday night game was over.
It's just, as Packers fans, and knowing that we are actually America's team. The Packers are really America's team. They are on TV a lot. So it was unusual for week 1 to not have our game be one of the featured games. That's what I was trying to put forth.
Well, it was easy here because the Bears were also on at 12. So what are you going to do?
Although I don't think they got the memo that preseason's over.
Oh, he went there already.
Details later.
Hey, snap. So the other low lights from this game, very, very simple, right? Too many 3-and-outs, especially in that first half. I don't understand what the deal was. You get pinned back on your goal line and you start to panic or freak out or something, that literally Schum is punting from his end zone, which he did a fantastic job on the end zone punts. And then the one punt we need Schum to actually do for us in the fourth quarter, he completely biffs it. And it's like, can we just bring back Mass Day?
Or that other guy. We were so high on him, and poof, he got traded away.
The one
Holder of the year.
The one punt, you have to just pin him back on the 5, and you couldn't make it happen. Come on.
But on the plus side, I had quite a sigh of relief on how he was able to get the ball out of there, kicking from the end zone those 2 times.
Oh, yeah, for sure, because there was one that was really close. The Jaguars, how many 4th down conversions did we give them?
I didn't count because
4 or 5? It was enough. Let's just put it that way.
It was too many.
Way too many. Way too many.
I'm kind of surprised the Packers as well, and the Jags especially, that both teams went for it on 4th down. I know the Packers did it mostly in preseason, but usually teams are really conservative on trying to go for it on 4th downs, but and then we let them convert. Oh well.
And what's actually funny is, even though the Packers had a lot of 3-and-outs in that first half, we did convert 50% of 3rd down. So that's actually a better number than we did most of last season. So I think that's kind of interesting when you think about it. But again, Packers, a good 5 yards per play, which is great to see. I'm looking for the time of possession number, 28-37. So the Jags actually beat us on TOP this week.
I'll give it to them. The heat, the humidity, the home field advantage, that's all I can chalk it up to.
But how about that drive at the end of the 3rd quarter to going into the 4th?
Yes.
That is the drive we need to have consistently over and over and over again. Otherwise, the time of possession for this game probably would have been more like 20 minutes to 40 minutes in favor of Jacksonville, because that drive, sad that it ended in a field goal and didn't actually get the 6, but that drive was methodical. It was great. Almost 10 minutes off the clock. It was fantastic.
And just keep the Jags defense on the field, wear them out.
Get them gassed, as they say on the broadcast.
And, they're an AFC team, so it was unusual to be playing them at all. And, now all sorts of action starts this coming week. But more details on that later in the podcast.
Now, something happened to Sam Shields, though. So this is interesting. We were talking about keeping 6 safeties. So maybe they have to roll one over now with Sam Shields being out. Concussion, I heard.
Yeah, I think so. But that's the word, is that it's a concussion, but he's kind of week to week. So as of the time we're recording the podcast, no word on whether he'll be able to play this week or next week or when. But it's good to have an embarrassment of riches at that position. And we are definitely going to be missing Sam Shields if he does miss any games, because he's a beast.
That he is for sure. Well, we did have some other injuries out there, right? The usuals are still out there. Mike Pinnell and Dimitri are still suspended. Corey Lindsley on the PUP. I think Sam was the only one registered from the game.
I believe so. And
with the Heat, that's pretty good.
Yeah, because usually, unfortunately, especially last season, people were dropping left and right. But this is a whole different Packers, a whole new season. And we'll just wait for those other guys to come back. But so far, so good for the Green Bay Packers. And Sam, get well soon.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the big things of the offseason, right? It was about conditioning. When you talk about how Rodgers gave up, the dairy, much to the chagrin of the rest of Wisconsin. But he gave up dairy, and look at his performance now. You had Richard Rodgers. He slimmed down a little bit. You had Lacey doing the P90X stuff to get his weight down. A lot of conditioning over the offseason. I think maybe that was something that came up, that people just weren't in, football ready shape or football ready mindsets last season. And even though we did as well as we did, I think this season's really proven so far that the conditioning's been very, very good, even through the preseason.
And you bring up an interesting point, Troy, that I thought Richard Rodgers did look slimmer than in the past, especially for, being a tight end. And Jared Cook, though, he made a few great plays, and he looked like the prototypical big tight end that we're going to be counting on as the season goes on.
Yeah, we need to get him worked in more into the packages. I was surprised how little we did see of him in the game. I really want to see some more Jared Cook. I know there was that one where he was streaking down the field, and Aaron kind of just overthrew him a little bit. So if that is there, man, that's going to be golden money. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, in fact, last night watching the Rams, I guess they'll call it a game, I know that they have got to be missing Jared Cook.
Oh, by far.
But their loss, Packers gain. Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go indeed. All right, well, you got some feedback from you guys. That's right. Superfan Aaron here called in. Let's see what he had to say.
Hey, Wayne and Troy, fellow Packer fan, Aaron from Rockford area. I just want to say the game looked good. I think offensively we looked good. Defensively, once again, I think we started off weak. I'm getting really concerned how we can never have a strong defense at the beginning of the year, but it happened yet again. Go Capers. So if I had to pick a couple things that really stood out to me, it would be that the defense needs to get its act together. And some people will say that the defense was doing well. Well, if they had 23 points, 24 points, I don't think they're doing well. So, and there are a lot of missed opportunities, a few missed interceptions. People aren't hitting their marks where they should. I would definitely work on that. And then I think Cobb looked a little hazy or something. I mean, there's definitely he lost that spark, and I saw a little bit of it last year. Saw a little bit of it again this first game. I hope it's just shaking off whatever his injuries were. But all right, looking forward to your podcast this year. Go Pack Go, baby. Yeah.
Awesome. Now that is a high energy listener voicemail. Always great to hear from superfan Aaron Peterson in Rockford, the home of Cheap Trick. Great points, Troy.
Yeah, I mean, he does bring up something on Cobb, but I mean, you look at his day, he had 3 rushes, 11 yards. That's 4 yards a carry roughly. And then you have 8 targets, 6 receptions, 57 yards, right? That's 10 yards a catch. That's not an awful day. So I don't know what he's seeing about the hazy stuff. Yeah, maybe there's a delay in a decision make on a cut kind of thing. I did notice that a few times on a few of his routes. But all in all, I mean, Cobb still had a pretty fantastic day, I would say, in my book, considering the heat and everything that was going on down there. Now, defensively, I agree 100%. 23 points. If you're a good defense, you're talking maybe 13 would be what you would give up on a day. So the fact that they gave up 23. But at the end of the day, this defense, especially the front 7, they're the ones that shut down that Jaguars offense when it mattered. And that's all that matters. If you're going to step up and make the play when you need to make the play, I don't remember about all those other plays that you did earlier in the game. I remember about that one play, which is that 4th down play at the end of the game when they stopped him short and protected the victory.
Yes, and was it Clinton Dix that was it may have been another defensive player that was calling out the Jaguars trying to take a timeout at the end that they didn't have?
Oh, yeah, totally. And there was another time, too, when, what was it, came up like on a blitz, and he was standing at the line, and he was like stomping his feet and pointing at the play clock because the play clock had run out. It was a delay of game, and he's like, call the foul. You could actually see him pointing at the play clock. It's pretty funny. He's an animated guy. I like him.
Hey, the good stuff indeed. And if our defense can step it up even another level this coming week and stop AP, then it's going to be good stuff. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on for sure, Aaron.
Miguel from Arizona's back. Let's go ahead and see what Miguel has to say.
Hey, Wayne and Troy, it's Miguel in Phoenix. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for all the off-season podcasts. Definitely makes the off-season a little less painful when we're looking for our Packers fix, and you guys are there for us. So we appreciate that. And I'm glad the Packers got the win this week. It looked a little rough in the beginning. The offense had some trouble getting it together, but they seemed to, figure it out. And then the defense just let the Jaguars do whatever they wanted until it mattered most. But I guess that's just the Packers getting their rhythm. So I'm glad they figured it out and they got that win. But I had a question. I was listening to some shows, and I heard some people talking about what the Packers are going to do with Lacy in the future. And some people think that, well, maybe the Packers will, run him into the ground and then cut him since he's got a contract, he's in his contract year. But what I was wondering was if you guys could keep only one Packer to retire with the Packers, aside from our superstars like Rodgers and Matthews and Nelson, if you could only keep one guy on the Packers for the rest of their career, who would that be? I mean, we still have Lacy. You still have Mike Daniels. You have Cobb. So just kind of curious on what you guys thought about that. And one more thing, I just wanted to remind the Packers Fan Podcast listeners out there, if you're going to shop with Amazon and you want to help out the Packers Fan Podcast, you can do that through the Amazon link at PackersFanPodcast.com. Doesn't cost you anything more, and you're supporting the podcast that we all listen to and we love. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the show, and I'll talk to you guys another time. Bye.
Wow, thanks so much, Miguel. Look at that.
Awesome.
We don't even hire salespeople anymore. Miguel's just going to do it for us. Yes, PackersFanPodcast.com/Amazon. Do all your Amazon shopping, which I do constantly. So I'm even kicking into the show myself, Wayne.
Awesome, because you don't just have to buy Packers gear there. You could buy, a new iMac computer. You could buy dental floss, anything and everything. Good stuff. Oh, Miguel, so great to hear from you.
I bought today on Amazon, I bought a adapter that plugs into a 3.5-inch headphone port and converts it into Bluetooth to headphones. That if you had Bluetooth headphones, then, so for example, like my TV in my bedroom has a headphone out port. So now I can plug this into my TV, and now my TV can play directly to my Bluetooth headset, so I can watch the Vikings and Packers in my bedroom on Sunday night.
Nice.
And not affect my wife while she's sleeping.
Extra nice.
Until I jump out of the bed and go, run now, go faster.
Yeah, that's bound to still happen, but that's okay. Oh, Miguel, hard-hitting question. Gosh, Troy, you go first on this one because I'm still narrowing it down. Okay. That is a good question.
Man, that's a really great question. So we can't pick Jordy, and we can't pick Rodgers.
Or Matthews. We already traded away Mass Day.
I would say I would love to see TJ Lang finish out. I mean, it was a shame that Josh Sitton went out, this year, but TJ's still there. I know there was the big contract signing today for the linemen, so that's something that is out there. So TJ's still waiting to get his cash, when and if that happens. But I think for what TJ's done for the franchise and the organization, it'd be great to see TJ finish out.
That would be fantastic. I'm going to go with Eddie Lacy.
Can't steal my thunder now. You have to think. You have to think and choose somebody else. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to pick Eddie Lacy. I do think that he's turned the corner, and I would love for him to continue to be more productive each and every year for at least a few more years. I would love to see him just, become one of the greatest Packers running backs in history, that when people think of the Packers from this generation, in addition to the fantastic Aaron Rodgers plays to Jordy Nelson and the rest of the receiving core, that they would think about our monstrous running game. So that's what I'm hoping for. I know that it's early in his career with the Packers, and he does need to have a stellar year, but that's what I'm thinking may happen, and I'd love to see him stay a Packer to the end, because if he can achieve that, can you imagine, even 10 years after he retires, he'll be able to do all these Packers-related events all the time. Kind of like how we have Edgar Bennett, who's now, coaching on the team. Oh, I love it.
That's a really great question, though, because it is his contract year. Would they just run him into the ground this year, say, hey, you got to make weight, you got to put up your numbers and all that jazz, and then just work him and then cut him because of the situation that happened last year? That I wouldn't put it past them. But I mean, if he shows up and he does the work and he puts in the effort and he runs a great season and he puts up 1,500 plus yards, how do you not sign him again? You don't want him to go somewhere else. Gosh, you want him to go over to the Lions, just spread the entire Packers crew around the NFC?
That would be terrible to have all of our former players be somewhere in the NFC North.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, Miguel. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the season progresses. All right. With that, we have an email from Monica. She said, hey, Packers fans, just watched the final seconds of the Packers at Jaguars, and it was so dramatic. Glad to start with a win, but man, was that rough. Credit to the Jaguars offense, but those fourth down conversions against the defense were infuriating. I hope they get another win on the road. Keep up the good work, and go, Pack, go, Monica.
Great to hear from you, Monica. Thank you so much for that. And yes, that email came in literally within 5 minutes of the game ending. And then just a few minutes later, superfan Aaron's voicemail came in. I'm like, oh, wow, man, things are burning up. It's so great to have the regular season here and great Packer stuff to talk about. Now on Twitter, we heard from Mike, who's at jovial_Falcon, who said after the game, Rodgers to Jordy is going to happen a lot this year. Great pass.
So. Double on the bump. Whoop, whoop.
Oh, yeah. And Ari Carrillo, I think I may be crying tears of happiness. Man, I miss Jordy. Hashtag Packers, hashtag Go Pack Go, hashtag GB versus JAX.
Nice. It was a great game. Oh, fantastic way to open up the season. Glad it was an AFC game. Hint, hint, wink, wink. For those that have listened to the Packers Fan Podcast before, and my awesome scheduling idea. So with that, we're moving to Minnesota next week. But before we get there, other news. Yes, friends, family, Packer fans alike, color blindness is something that affects a lot of people that enjoy the game of football. And when you have fans that are colorblind, things like the Color Rush program cause issues. Like last November when the Buffalo Bills wore all red against the New York Jets, who happened to be in all green. So when you're watching that as a person that's colorblind, you kind of can't figure out who's who. So there's no love lost here at the Packers Fan Podcast for the Color Rush program, because we don't understand the concept of it other than, as Wayne said, hashtag money grab, because the uniforms are ugly. We don't want ketchup and mustard out on the field. That belongs on our hot dogs or brats or whatever. And I think it was great that when we got the reveal of the Color Rush uniforms this year, that there would be new monochromatic uniforms for all 32 teams. So that way there wouldn't be an issue for the people that are colorblind. So colorblind people, we're raising the flag and saluting you today, because you get to finally watch football the way it was meant to be, with teams in opposing uniforms.
Absolutely. And the Packers have kind of balked at this whole Color Rush thing over the past few seasons, but I guess it's mandatory this year. But I think we kind of snuck one by, or went into some heavy negotiations, because the photos just came out from the Packers today of the Color Rush uniforms the Packers are going to be wearing. And they're basically our away jerseys almost.
Yeah, you sent me the picture and I was like, wait, what's different about that than the away jersey?
We're all white, but we still have our green and gold stripes and everything else. So it's almost the away jerseys, except for we're going to be wearing it, I think, at a home game. But oh well.
That will be weird. I will give you that. So if if the Bears come out with either like all orange or all blue or whatever they end up choosing, and we wear the all white one for that game on Thursday night, to see white uniforms in Green Bay, that will be strange.
Yeah, unless I read it wrong. But it's just one of those things. If we have to play their game, I mean, nobody's real excited about playing on Thursday night. Just disrupts everything. But let's just play along. At least like the game you talked about between, was it the Bills and the Jets? I mean, that
was horrible.
Yeah, that one, unlike the other game between the Jaguars and somebody that looked like ketchup and mustard, that game looked like the green Power Rangers versus the red Power Rangers. It was just some bizarre stuff. And yeah, so at least the NFL is fixing it. So there's no color blindness issues. Everybody will be able to tell one team from another. And after all, that's what counts.
And more importantly, when you think about it, that Buffalo Bills and New York Jets game, whoever did the scheduling for that was totally messed up because they put Christmas in November.
Yeah.
At least if they would have had that game right before the holidays, then at least it would have made sense.
It was one of the weirdest.
It was so ugly.
That, and then the one with the Jags that was ketchup and honey mustard.
Ketchup and honey mustard.
It's just hideous.
Please, dear God, make this go away. Sorry, Nike. I understand you're trying to sell uniforms, and I know it's going for good cause and for charity, but I would rather just give you the money to make the jerseys go away. We should start up our own fund. It's like Color Rush anti-support fund. Oh, my goodness. Well, in other news, the Packers and the police department have been teaming up there in Green Bay, and it's a great thing because they're shedding light on some public safety programs that are going on. So there was a joint $200,000 donation from the organization and Mike McCarthy tend to enhance the youth programs that are going on around there. So the two $100,000 checks were on display during the organization's first fundraiser at the Titletown Brewing Company in Green Bay on Monday night. Clearly, it's something that's important for Mike McCarthy because his parents taught him the importance of giving back to the community, and they want to shine a positive light on the enhancement of the engagement projects that are already in place. But they need some funding and they need some support. So the two matching grants require that the Green Bay Police Foundation raise an additional $200,000 in order to secure the singular $100,000 donations each to get the match. So they have to basically raise almost $170,000 yet this year. They've already raised $30,000 in a little bit more than 2 months, according to Police Chief Andrew Smith. So if you are in the 920, especially in the Green Bay area, and you want to make that happen, you can go ahead and check out Packers.com for the story and make sure that they can get the grant. Because if we can raise, $400,000 total to help safety and especially youth programs and kids safety there in the Fox River region, that would be fantastic.
Great cause. I love stories like this. And of course it involves Green Bay. It just makes it that much better. And I'm not surprised that they're doing this. Now, leading up to this weekend's game, I put out the weekly Twitter poll. And this week, just kind of getting a feel for the fans of the Packers Fan Podcast on Twitter. Be sure to follow us there at Packers Fan Pod. This week asked, what are you most looking forward to in next Sunday night's Packers at Vikings game? Is it AR-12's touchdown passes? The Packers defense maybe stepping up? Eddie Lacy running wild? Or the kicking game? Okay. And here's the results that came in. 38% of Packers Fan Podcast respondents voted that they want to see AR-12 TDs. Makes sense. 37%, almost a tie. 37% want to see the Packers defense step it up a bit. 23% want to see Eddie Lacy running wild. 2% did vote for hoping to see the kicking game.
That's right. We still love you, Mason. It's okay.
Oh, Mason Money Crosby. Dude's a machine. So right before we dig into the nitty gritty of the game, some NFC North notes. Packers, of course, are 1-0. The Vikes are 1-0, but remember that victory was over the terrible the Tennessee Titans. Believe it or not, the Titans were able to hold Adrian Peterson to 31 yards.
That bodes well for us because I think we did a really good job holding down the rush as well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I think we're going to be able to contain Peterson without much problem.
Because odds are Adrian Peterson will still be carrying most of the offensive load for the Vikings this week. The Lions, they are also 1-0, which I was quite surprised. I thought they were going to lose that game. The jury is still out on how well the Lions offense can be without Megatron, who is now busy foxtrotting and waltzing on the hardwoods here in Hollywood for Dancing with the Stars. And the Bears, well, they're 0-1. And in ESPN's latest power rankings, they put the Bears at number 29 out of 32 teams, and that kind of sums that up.
Yes, but at least, Sitton got paid.
Yeah, so hopefully he's not giving away too many secrets to the Bears.
Speaking of secrets, we'll break down the Vikings game and things to look for when we come back right after this fun, fantastic podcast that you should all check it out. Take a listen.
Hi, I'm Hank, and I'd like to welcome you to TPEnetwork.com's lighthearted take on all the latest NFL news with our new show called That's Not Football. Those of you who joined us for the NFL Fan Podcast know that we deliver a unique take on sports commentary. Take a break from the X's and O's and share some laughs with Mello and me on That's Not Football, premiering week 1 of the 2016 NFL season. That's Not Football is available for Android cell phone users as an app in the Google Play Store. We're available to iOS users in the Podcasts app on iPhone. The show will also be made available in iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, and a whole host of other services. Just be sure to search That's Not Football in the app of your choice. Get ready for an entire season of butt fumbles with the crew from TPEnetwork.com.
And I'm at Wayne Henderson, and I approve this message. We love Hank Davis and Mellow Bets. Troy, they go way back here on the Packers Fan Podcast, as well as other podcasts like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast that Hank does. But That's Not Football. I love this podcast. And after you listen to the Packers Fan Podcast, go subscribe to That's Not Football and get a smile on your face.
An example of something of a news story that you would hear on that show is the Color Rush uniforms were released today. And by releasing those Color Rush uniforms, we got to see that the Seattle Seahawks would not be doing any weather forecasts anytime soon, because if you stand in front of the green screen of the weather forecast, your uniform will disappear and you'll be invisible. Clearly, great cause to raise money for the foundation through the Color Rush program, but that's not football.
Example, and I'm just going to assume that on the next episode that comes out in a day or two, something's going to be said about Cam Newton flossing on the sidelines during that game.
I sure will.
That's just a guess.
Oh, my goodness. All right, Packers, Vikings, week 2. We are coming to take back the crown of the NFC North away from the division champs. The weather should not be a factor, as it is back indoors inside the giant Jawa sandcrawler.
Yes.
There on the Minnesota skyline. Outside, it'll be sunny 76 with very little humidity, a perfect day. So hopefully they can. Does it open up? I don't even know if it opens up there. I haven't actually seen the final pictures and drawings and stuff.
Too early to tell. I'm not sure, but I am glad that when we see it and it's full of people, it won't be quite as purple as when they show the photo of it empty.
Oh my gosh, those purple chairs. Yes.
There's way too much purple in that stadium. I know it's your team's color, Minnesota, but it's
not cool to kill Barney and steal his dye from his fur in order to make that many chairs. Just saying. Kids like Barney.
Kids do love Barney, and we love Barney, and we love the Green Bay Packers.
Yes, we especially love that Lane Taylor looked like he was able to hold his own against the Jaguars, because Sheriff Floyd versus Lane Taylor, that's a matchup you're going to want to watch between the defense and the offensive lines, because if Lane can hold that, we should be no problem at all for the defense of the Vikings. But if Sharif can get in there, just watch out, because he is a man on a mission. Also, Brian Robinson is weak against the run, so hopefully McCarthy plays up a game plan that attacks Brian's side all day long for Eddie Lacy to run against him there. Also, look for the Vikes to take away the pre-snap read from Rodgers. We talked about how Rodgers likes to hold on to the ball forever, but he can also get those quick reads out there. So if you can get that pre-snap read taken away from Rodgers and then play a lot of press man coverage, they'll be able to force Aaron to hold the ball even longer, which leads to sacks. So look for that to happen on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, containing AP won't be a problem, but containing Stephon Diggs may be an issue, depending on who he matches up against. Quentin Rollins did have some issues last week, so if he's covering over the top, Stephon could get a long throw. But I think the most interesting storyline for this week, Wayne, is will we see Sean Hill or Sam Bradford? Yes, Sam was working out this week, making sure that he can get up to speed. So I think that's going to be the hardest thing. What does Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff plan for when it comes to the quarterbackers? Because if Dom Capers goes and throws 8 people up in the box, how they read that, how they check off from the run play to a pass play, that's going to be different for Sean and Sam, even though it's the same playbook, just because of their styles.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, those sneaky Vikings are going to keep that a secret as long as possible. So that makes the Packers kind of prepare for both, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I know that they want to get Sam Bradford out there as quick as possible, but, he's only been there 2 weeks. Has it even been 2 weeks yet?
Yeah, I think it's 2 total.
Yeah, so, he's a veteran NFL quarterback, but it might take more than 2 weeks to learn more of that offense. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. The Green Bay Packers do have their official dope sheet that they put out every single week, and this week it was pretty close to the time we're recording, so it's hot off the press, and we'll have a link to the PDF of the dope sheet. It's very pretty. You print it out. It's awesome. It's at PackersFanPodcast.com/111, episode 111. The Green Bay Packers will take on the Minnesota Vikings in the first ever regular season game played at US Bank Stadium. I guess that's the naming rights. I'm glad our stadium is Lambeau Field.
I thought it was called The Force Doesn't Awaken. Oh, wait, there were no Jawas in that.
Snap. It's also the first time since 1924 since the Packers have played 2 first games of the season on the road. It's hard to believe it's been that long since we've had to play our first 2 regular season games on the road. Ooh, we've gotten off light, but it is going to be tough. It'll be good to get these out of the way. And this is the earliest week of the regular season that the 2 teams have played each other since 2008 when they met in week 1 in Green Bay. And if you're faint of heart, be forewarned, because of the past 28 regular season meetings between the Packers and the Vikings, 19 of those games have been decided by 7 points or less. That is most of those meetups. And of course, 19, Stephen King number. That's very ominous. So don't stress out. Be comfy during this game. In honor of this being the 111th episode of your Packers Fan Podcast, let's talk about the 111 times the Packers have played the Vikings. These 111 meetings include 2 postseason contests where we're split 1-1, but the Packers hold a 59-50 and 2 ties edge over the Vikings all time, and that's just going to increase by 1 more this weekend. The Packers are 10-2-1 in the last 13 games between the teams during the regular season and postseason. So pretty much, Troy, we've got their number, although there's no easy victories in this one because so many of the games have been decided by 7 points or less. Yikes.
This is true. And right now the line looks like it's coming in at about 2.5. Green Bay giving 2.5. So that'll be close. I don't know where you want to go on this one. We're still favored, but.
Of course we are. We're the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
And because of our win last week, the Packers coach, Mike McCarthy, is now 113-62-1. This is his 11th NFL season as the Packers coach. And Vikings coach Mike Zimmer is 19-15-0, his 3rd NFL season as a coach. And some notable connections that it's amazing how so many of these teams, their histories cross paths. And Packers' LaTroy Guion played for Minnesota from 2008 through 2013 after being drafted by the Vikings in the 5th round. He was number 152 overall of the 2008 NFL draft. And Packers tight end Jared Cook has caught passes from Minnesota quarterbacks Sam Bradford in 2013 and Sean Hill in 2014 while he was in St. Louis. Now, I wonder if that means that maybe we should put Jared Cook on defense to see if he could catch a few more. Nah,
that
keep
would be
him
great idea. Nah.
But you can read the full Packers dope sheet, print out the PDF, whatever you like. We've got it linked on our website at PackersFanPodcast.com/111.
All right, I guess it's that time. Got to pick some scores.
Yeah, your little Vegas line, which of course is for entertainment purposes only, not for betting money. Makes it sound like they are expecting a close game.
They are, and I think that even though I did not predict the final score correctly, I did predict the total points correctly from last week.
Congratulations. Well done.
50 total points. There you go. I won on the over. So not that I put any money down because it's for entertainment purposes only. But if we were to pick scores this week, since I get to go first, I'm going to say Packers 34.
Yeah.
Vikings 24.
10 points.
I like 10-point games.
It takes a little bit of the stress off. I noticed last week when you predicted Packers 30, Jaguars 20, 10-point game.
Yes.
Very nice indeed. And of course, we get our whole entertainment purposes only from Hank Davis and his previous show, the NFL Fan Podcast. Now, I am not going to be quite as flagrant with my prediction as last week, where I thought we were going to win by 13. Would have been nice. But I do predict a victory. And much like you, Troy, I'm picking the Vikings to get 24, but the Packers I see 31 out of them. 31-24. Now, if by some chance we win 44-24, of course, I'll be even happier that I'm wrong.
See, I'm hoping that at least one of those 2 touchdowns inside of the 10 gets in the end zone this week. Otherwise, I probably would have been more like 27-24, more in those Vegas odds lines areas. So I'm hoping for an extra touchdown.
I'm hoping for 10 touchdowns, but we'll see. I'm still trying to get a feel on this whole season. It's so early, but in the end, all that matters is that the Packers won the game.
Yes, and obviously, if you want to give your predictions, plenty of time to do so before Sunday. You can go ahead and do that in the Facebook group. Just search, or the Facebook page, sorry, that's PackersFanPodcast.com/Facebook, or just hit us up on Twitter at PackersFanPod. We'd love to hear your score predictions and see how close you get.
Absolutely. Please do so.
With that, the unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is now over, and it's still not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. However, now is the perfect time to make that happen. Just let someone know that they can reach out to us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com. Also, don't forget to become one of the Packers Fan Podcast faithful. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/support. See how you can help make your podcast even better. Please, 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 please. The season has started. Make sure you tell all of your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast and use the Amazon link. Thanks to Miguel.
That was great advice from Miguel. Thank you yet again for that. And when you tell your friends about the Packers Fan Podcast, suggest that they tell their friends, and we'll keep it going like a wave. And remember to listen to the Packers Fan Podcast on the go with our free Packers Fan Podcast apps for iOS and Android. They are presented by theticketking.com. Don't get sold out of your next Packers game. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for the details on that. And all season long, follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. We'll try to have a new poll out almost every Monday when I remember to do it. And also follow me on my personal account on Twitter. I'm at Wayne Henderson.
And I'm at Troy Heinrichs, and I'm sure we'll be talking a lot during the game on Sunday night. Be sure to like us, like I said, on the Facebook as well. Just go to PackersFanPodcast.com/Facebook to join up with the community.
And we love your feedback, and that's why we have PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback for you, so you can get in your thoughts and let your voice be heard, like Miguel, like Aaron, like Monica, and everybody that contacted us on Twitter. Keep the conversation going online. We'll be back next week with another episode of Packers Talk. But until then, thanks for listening to us this week on the Packers Fan Podcast.
Be sure you subscribe in iTunes and leave us a review as well. Continue to support the podcast. Now, let's take it to the Vikings. Get an early claim on the division title. Let me hear you. With a Go Pack, go!